Now, let's cover Lacey's issue.
All right, so yeah, let's cover my issue.
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't you jump in?
Let's do that. So
Lacey's going to talk to you about the abortion issue.
yeah, I am. We'll watch a clip too, but first, this
We
is
got a couple
I
clips,
need to
yeah.
have my Jay Leno moment. I get to have my little monologue here. So
You can have a couple. Go
I
for it.
was I was I'm going to I'm going to. So we'll give this the reason I want to cover this again because I realized that I really had some things to say and I was feeling pretty angry about it. Getting ready in the morning and in the radio, I have the radio on as I'm buzzing around getting ready to go to work, and I just heard a blurb, about the Texas case, the abortion case going on, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I realized I just felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I felt angry all over again. As our viewers all know, I'm a bisexual woman, and I just said I am somewhat recently single, within the past couple of years. And previous to that, I'd been in a 15-year relationship with a woman. And so I actually, to some degree, I think I can identify with men and people that don't necessarily have women's reproductive rights on their radar very much because
Sure.
I didn't have a reason to be hugely concerned about pregnancy or the fear of dealing with that for a long period of time. It had fallen off my radar. And I understand when it's not on your radar, you don't think about what a big deal it is.
Sure. Well, can I say something real
Yeah.
quick here? Yeah. So Lacey texted me really early this morning. Said, "Hey, put this in there." I said, "Of course, anything you want." But it's also, I mean, I'm not a woman, so I don't understand. I mean, I understand. I don't comprehend on
Well,
that
that's
level.
that's the perspective that I'm trying to bring here
Yes,
because
please.
and what I'm offering is that I too have been in a moment in time where my ability to understand it was minimized.
Yeah,
Obviously,
sure.
I was still a woman during that whole period of time, but I didn't have to worry about what would happen if I was pregnant. Yes, I was partnered, but I was also partnered with a female, so that was not going to be an issue unless extremely deliberate, right?
Right.
Now, I'm a woman. I am a bisexual woman and I have been seeing men, right? That's constantly, it's now back on my radar as a constant issue and a constant concern that I'm sorry to say, women are the ones that have to be worried about. Yes, there are responsible men out there that have concerns about it, but ultimately, men, you're not the ones sitting there concerned about whether something failed or whether you're becoming pregnant. And then, should you become pregnant as a female, going and having a conversation with a man, would that man actually be a man who would stick around and be responsible or not? And people love to argue that the courts are helping you take care of that. But I'm sorry, I have many clients and friends who have not had success with having men help take care of these children that have been brought into the world.
Well, sure. Let me
And
say this.
now
It's not my body.
it's not. It's not your body. So let's also start with the premise that I'm sorry if you're not the one who's going to incubate for that duration of time and go through all of that, you really don't get much of a vote. But beyond that, when you take away a woman's ability to have that vote, force her to have children, you're forcing an economic situation on her, you're forcing life choices on her, and you're not forcing that on men. You can say all the live long day that we'll take these men to court and they'll have to pay you child support. That's fun, that's cute, that's really cute, but the number of men that manage to hide, dodge, and run away from those responsibilities is really high. There's a lot.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot.
Well,
And women don't have that luxury once they have that child.
well, and let me be fair here. I mean, let's just be fair on this whole issue. Is, if men were the ones having children, since we're the ones in power, right? You'd be able to get an abortion at the local 7-Eleven. Eric would call me and he'd be like, "Oh my God, this bitch lied to me and she got me pregnant and blah, blah, blah." And I'd be like, "Okay, we're going to go to 7-Eleven. We're going to get you an abortion, a slushy. And then we're going to go see the new Marvel movie." Okay, it'll be fine.
Sure.
That would be it. That would be the whole conversation.
Right.
And it would cost me, what, $40?
And let's again, I'm going to rehammer this home. Let's add perspective. Should I happen to miss a period and I don't have access to aborting, I'm suddenly pregnant, I loop back to this male who helped me get into this situation, and he may or may not answer his phone, return my call, choose to participate in any way, shape, or form, in which case I, as the woman, still would be stuck in my situation, and he magically gets to have his fun and dip out, and I can pursue it in the court. And we know how quick the government is to act on anything.
Sure.
If you can even find the person. So a bunch of men in power are essentially holding a bunch of women down, potentially economically, and with all of their life choices by trying to take away the right to actually deal with the situation the way they choose to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I want to make 2 points on that because, first off, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you can sue him and he's liable for child support, but whether or not he pays it, who gives a shit? The bottom line is it's your body that's sacrosanct that's being submitted here, right? Because nobody goes through a pregnancy and their body doesn't change. It just doesn't fucking happen. It's not realistic. And on top of that fact, you're the one who's going to be stuck with the child and having to raise the child, which is a whole nother, like you said, economic situation. On top of the fact, really what this whole thing is about, this whole exercise is about, it's not about the emancipation of women. It's not about helping people out. It's not about saving babies. You know what it's about? Punishing women for having sex.
Yeah, let's jump in. Let's jump in on that one. So, fun fact: I have been in the room with a woman receiving abortion services. Yeah. I've actually been in that room. I actually went with somebody.
I've done it a couple times. Yeah.
And why was she having abortion services? She was having abortion services because somebody slipped a drug into a drink of hers at a party, and she woke up surrounded by men. And I'm going to leave it there because I think your imagination can fill in what happened.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible.
And so, do you really want to look that woman in the face and tell her she's required to go through with a pregnancy when that's what happened to her? She has no clue which one of those men, nor was she consenting
of the many
to have
men that raped her. Yeah.
Which one is she suing? Right?
Yeah.
So before you try to make a bunch of rules regulating women's bodies, stop and think. Use your brain. If that was your friend, your sister, would you literally look at your friend, your sister, and tell her that she should be required to do this? And if that's who you are, you really, really need to stop and think. You need to think about who you are as a human. Let's take a look at Kate Cox.
Yeah.
This is the woman in Texas. Her situation was that she was pregnant and this was not ever going to become a child. It was literally going to medically die. It was not going to survive. But she was actually required to wait until the point where her life was actually at risk.
And she'd be
Now the
infertile.
appeals court, they did rule in her favor, but then the governor used some sort of like executive order or whatever to overturn, which he doesn't really have the right to do, and tie this whole thing up.
Yeah, and she had to flee the state. So here's the clip that Lacey's talking about right here. This is Good Morning America. Just to tell you how big of a story this is, Good Morning America is doing this story.
Breaking news overnight, the Texas Supreme Court freezing a lower court's ruling that would have allowed a woman to get an emergency abortion. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze joins us now from the Supreme Court in Washington, where it's been nearly 18 months since the High Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Elizabeth, good morning.
Good morning to you, Gio. And we have not seen a case like this since the Supreme Court issued its decision on Roe v. Wade back in 1973. In this case, a woman in Texas with severe pregnancy complications is suing the state to allow her to get access to an emergency abortion. And now the state's highest court is weighing in, putting that request on hold. Overnight, a setback for abortion rights advocates. In a first-of-its-kind case, the Texas Supreme Court temporarily blocking 31-year-old Kate Cox from obtaining an emergency abortion. Cox, a mother of two, filed the legal challenge at 20 weeks pregnant. Her doctor saying her fetus has virtually no chance of survival. They warn continuing to carry the pregnancy could jeopardize her health and future fertility.
There's no outcome here, that results in us taking home a healthy baby girl.
On Thursday, a lower court ruled in favor of Cox, granting her request for an emergency abortion despite the state's near total ban. But hours later, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton appealed the ruling, asking the state's Supreme Court to intervene. Late Friday, it did, putting a temporary hold on the lower court's decision without regard to its merits as it reviews Paxton's appeal.
And there you go.
So like what is the value, I ask those voters who want to rush to the poll and make absolutely certain they're requiring women to have whatever pregnancies for as long as possible? What value was it in keeping her in this pregnancy? She just said it herself, and so did her doctor. There was no result there that was going to translate into her being able to bring home a healthy living child. That was literally never going to happen, and yet she was being denied her medical care because there are a bunch of people that are hell-bent on women being required to carry pregnancies.
Well, on top of the fact, she has two children, and she wants to have more. But you're talking about if we went through this to its natural process, she'd be infertile. And I hate to fucking point this out. It's like, I don't know. I grew up, when I was a kid, we had Nick at Night. And they used to show old shows from the 50s and 60s. And the amazing thing to me about all those shows is it was almost all those kids didn't have a mother. And the mother always died in childbirth. Think of Andy Griffith. Opie's mother died in childbirth. I mean, even the Brady Bunch, his wife died in childbirth. And you guys want to go back to that?
I mean, apparently they do, because that's exactly where they're sending us.
Yeah.
We're trying to anyway.
I don't know. It's a like I said, with the trans thing, it's a hatred and disgust of other people that they don't like. Gay people, trans people, immigrants, black people.
And women are only good so much as you can keep them in line, right? I mean, is that the message here?
Well, that's how I feel about it, but don't clip that. Nobody clip that, please. That was a joke.
Maybe you'll clip it out.
Yeah. No. I appreciate a bitch who will tell me off. That's why
Which is
that's why I have
fortunately
Lacey. Yeah.
most of them. That's why you keep me around,
That's
right?
why I
Tell you
keep
off.
Lacey. Right. No. Lacey's a sweetheart. She took care of me in college. But yeah. No, you're right. That's it's about punishing women. That's all it is. And it's stupid. It's counterproductive and it's stupid. But you know what it does? It brings voters to the fucking polls.
Right.
And that's all they care about. They only care about power. They don't give a shit about how it actually affects people's lives. They're not civil servants. They're they're power mongers. That's all they are. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you had any. I wanted.
No,
to,
that's all.
I wanted.
I got.
Actually, no. I have one more clip for you because we covered this last week. I wanted to do this from Joyce Reed, where she kind of covered this, and I want you to comment a little bit about this.
The Texas Supreme Court heard arguments today on whether the state's abortion bans hurt women with complicated pregnancies. It's part of an ongoing lawsuit filed by a group of Texas women who say they were denied abortions despite grave risks to their own lives or to their fetuses. A lawyer for the Center for Reproductive Rights, which filed the suit on behalf of the women and two doctors, said the bans have left doctors confused about what care they can provide.
The abortion bans as they exist today subject physicians like my clients to the most extreme penalties imaginable: life in prison and loss of their medical license. And while there is technically a medical exception to the bans, no one knows what it means, and the state won't tell us.
So this is the kind of the joke. So you're a doctor in Texas, right? You have a patient who needs an abortion to save their lives, right? I mean, honestly, if you were to ask me if they just wanted an abortion, that would be cool too. Nobody should have to be burdened with that if they don't want it. But in a situation even where the person needs it to save their life, the law is so convoluted that if I'm the doctor, I could do life in prison if I perform that abortion. Even if you're dying, I don't know.
Ironically, if you were the doctor, you could do life in prison for performing the abortion, but if you don't perform it, you're effectively killing your patient.
Right. So I'm violating my oath.
Maybe evaluate it that way.
Well, you're absolutely right. So I'm violating my oath. Right? What's the doctor's oath? To do no harm? I mean, you're basically asking these people to violate everything they signed up to do. Why? Because you're going to get some political advantage? They don't really give a shit about this issue. They don't fucking care. It's about power. It's always about power.
You know, I don't want my life to be a pawn in somebody's play for power, quite frankly. It's disgusting.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Let me skip ahead here because I want to get to this because we talked about this before. But
all right, we're gonna have to get to it fast because the clock is not looking great on me.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll get to this and we'll get to the last thing.
The highest.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, we'll get to this and we'll get to the last thing real quick here. All right, real quick. Oh, hang on.
Plaintiffs are seeking You have to have a woman who is pregnant, who has some health condition that she believes places her life at risk or impairment to a major bodily function, but her doctor says, I don't think it does. And she has to then sue the doctor and maybe the attorney general at that point, and then she would have standing.
I don't know if that would be the only circumstance, but you would at least then know that the law is the problem and not the doctor refusing to perform an abortion.
Amanda, the judge.
Yeah, I have no idea how that woman lives her life. We discussed that before. So the argument is you have to be dying, and your doctor has to disagree with you. And then you can sue, and a lawsuit takes what, 1 to 2 years?
But by which I'm probably dead if I'm dying.
Absolutely. But
So
you can't bring a lawsuit till then.
It says it would be better for me just to die. Like the law is just like kind of cool with me dying.
That was her argument. Yeah.
Again, even.
It's fucking amazing. It's amazing with these people. And this is what they're running on. This is the 2024 election right there.
Well, I'll be showing up to vote. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, I'll show up to vote too. All right, so